As a matter of fact, Google searches are down to 16%. If I had told you 2 years ago that Google was going to go from 95, 96% searches to 16%, you'd think I was crazy. It's already happened. But what we're going to learn today is how to go from the beginner level of ChatGPT, how most people are using it, to more an advanced stage. Hi, this is Roman Bodnarchuk from Strategic AI Coach. And today's the day that you will never forget. It's a day that will go down in your life and your history as the day that you went from a beginner at AI to really, it was your first day of mastery. For me, it was on a beach in Tulum in November of 2023, the first time I heard about OpenAI and ChatGPT. And it was a day that really was transformational for me because it was a 7-year dream. 7 years ago, I started my first AI company called Global AI, and I learned the challenges of AI back 7 years ago. I was inspired by a meeting by Jeffrey Linton, one of the godfathers of AI, won a Nobel Peace Prize, and he showed me what was going to happen in the future. And I was profoundly changed by that because I knew this was going to be the biggest industry of our lifetime. This would be more important than electricity. So I started this company 7 years ago. The first 2 people that I'd hired for the company, we got the fancy office, we got the fancy computers, like we were ready. On day 1, they came in and they said, Roman, we've got some bad news for you. And I said, well, what happened? It's your first day. And the first one got an offer from Facebook, which was 5 times more than I'd offered this person. I'd offered him a lot. And that was just a signing bonus. The second person that came in, these are both AI students from U of T. The second one said his offer, and I saw the offers, were 10 times higher than what I offered. So that's when I realized the last 7 years, this was really for the big boys. This is really for the tech billion-dollar companies like Apple, as you're seeing. Think about OpenAI, who was founded by guys like Elon Musk and Sam Altman. So if you think about who runs AI right now, it's all these huge tech companies. But think about what happened, and one of our guests is going to talk about it as well. Think about what happened when we had social media. So yes, there was a company called Instagram, and there was a company called Facebook, but those were just apps on the App Store. So think about the internet today. It's like mobile. So what Apple did was Apple came up with the system to create mobile apps. But the great wealth wasn't from the App Store. 30% of it does go to Apple. But the tremendous wealth came from guys like Zuckerberg, which said, hey, this internet thing, this mobile thing, what if I create an app called Facebook? And what if I create an app called Instagram? He bought Instagram. But think about TikTok. So all of those tools were built on the platform. So what OpenAI gave us with these language models and what they gave us with this technology like ChatGPT, they gave each one of us an opportunity to build the next billion-dollar company. I truly believe in my heart that the next billion-dollar company will be built with one person using AI agents and using AI. So today is about why you need to learn how to use ChatGPT, not just like a Google search, because right now people are using it like a Google search, which is great, and it's way better than Google. As a matter of fact, Google searches are down to 16%. If I had told you 2 years ago that Google was going to go from 95, 96% searches to 16%, you'd think I was crazy. It's already happened. But what we're going to learn today is how to go from the beginner level of ChatGPT, how most people are using it, to more an advanced stage. And I'm very proud and very excited to have Emad here as a guest. We've worked together for 15 years. Maybe, Emad, you could introduce a bit about yourself and what you've seen over the years and why you're so excited about AI.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, we've been around, we've seen how the modernizing your legacy business means different things at different times. So we were around when the internet came around, and then we start building websites for businesses, and then the social media came around, and then the cloud computer came along. So it's okay, put everything you have on cloud, and then now you have to be cloud-based, and then the mobile, and then all of that. Every few years there is a new technology that takes over the business, and it just obsoletes some businesses, and now business have to catch up. It's just like it's a wave. If you don't ride the wave, you're gonna left behind. So we went from internet, cloud, social media, mobile, and now into AI. Either you learn it and you master it and you use it in your business every day, or your competitor will do that, and then you're going to be left behind. And as you mentioned, something very interesting, Netflix, multi-billion-dollar industry, was built on top of the infrastructure that we have for internet, high speed, all of that thing. So the benefit, the business that was generated from that foundation, it became a multi-billion dollar. So imagine ChatGPT as being the foundation. And there are still a lot of opportunities for businesses to build on top of this. And in few years, we may not talk about ChatGPT and we talk about other businesses like Netflix who are built on top of this AI. And there's huge opportunity for multi-billion-dollar businesses that can be done with one or two people. I'm
Great,
in it
great
every day.
This is a great intro, and I just want to just interject with one thing. To become a billionaire prior to this in the technology space, you had to be a coder. Not only did you have to be a coder, usually your co-founder had to be a coder, and you had to live in Silicon Valley. So literally, if you take a look at all of the top most successful, like literally the top 10 companies, think about where they are. Okay, so they're all in Silicon Valley. Think about who these people are. They're all tech people, coders. Their co-founders were coders. Today, it's different. Anyone with creativity, with imagination, that even has a voice, you can actually speak to ChatGPT and you can create the next billion-dollar brand. This is the power. This is the first time in human history this has happened, where somebody that didn't have this kind of technical ability could create anything. And that's why it's so exciting. So anyone listening to this is an opportunity where all the excuses are gone. It doesn't matter if you're listening to this from Sri Lanka, you could be on a little island somewhere off Bangladesh. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, you could create one of the most important and impactful businesses on the planet just by building. So this is really important. I just want to read a couple quotes from some of the smartest people in the world. Sergey Brin and Larry Brin, for those that you don't know, these were two college students that started Google, and they generate on a daily basis, every day, $1 billion a day. So these are pretty smart guys. They've been retired for about 10 years. And when they saw AI, they both said, holy shit. This is way bigger than the internet. This is way bigger. They both have left retirement, come to work every single day, working 12-hour days. They're working 6 days a week back at Google. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. This is, again, one of the richest men in the world, was on his mega yacht, having the time of his life. And he said, holy shit, this is way bigger than the internet. The guy's back to work full time. Some of you are familiar with Bill Gates, one of the richest men of all time, back to work full time at Microsoft. So I'm just going to read you a couple quotes from these men, just so you have an idea of how big this is. This is more important than anything we've ever seen in our life. So according to Sergey Brin and Larry Page, AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. Sundar Pichai, one of the greatest CEOs of all time. AI is more profound than electricity or fire. Satya Nadella runs Microsoft. AI is the defining technology of our time. Here's Jensen Huang from, I think we all know, NVIDIA. This is like the third most valuable company in the history of the world. We're at the iPhone moment of AI. Okay, think about this. They've been working on AI for 3 decades. This has been going on for forever. But when the iPhone came out, how it changed everything with apps, and all these companies were built. Bill Gates, the development of AI, the fundamental creation of the microprocessor. This is bigger than the personal computer. This is bigger than the internet. This is bigger than the mobile phone. It will change humanity. So when you have the smartest people in the world are telling you this is it, and now I want you to think about personally, think about your screen time. All of you have smartphones. If you look at your screen time on your phone, you're probably, like most of us, spending more time online, okay, on your screen time than you are sleeping. So that's a challenge. But what's scary is when you look at where your time is being spent. So most people are spending it on TikTok is number one. After that's YouTube. And I'm a big fan of YouTube. So again, as long as you're watching like the right things on YouTube, I'm a big fan of YouTube, but most are watching, they're just watching Mr. Beats. I said Mr. Beast. Did I get that right? Mr. Beats videos. But if you're using YouTube properly, but then after that usually it's coming to Instagram, Netflix, etc. So what I'm going to challenge you today, all of you listening, is if you take the screen time you're already spending and maybe take some of those things out that aren't helping you. Like maybe TikTok's not helping you grow as a human being. Maybe Netflix isn't going to 10x your income this year. Maybe some of social media, maybe Instagram isn't going to make you a millionaire. And maybe take some of that time and learn how to use ChatGPT, for example. I think it's going to be really impactful. And Imad, we're going to go back to you, but we also have two other really important guests today because I wanted the perspective of a different generation, because we grew up in a different generation, but this generation, and Leo is here from University of Western Ontario. Kate is a university student, also happens to be my daughter, in Connecticut, and they're going to ask us some questions as well from their perspective. I just want to welcome Leo. Maybe Leo, you want to give us a 15-second or 30-second introduction?
Yeah, hi. I'm Leo Cetina-Baltic. I'm a second-year accounting student, and I'm also a student athlete. And I've had a lot of work experience in Canada and overseas as well. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the things that are done in the workspace now are very manual. And a lot of my employers, they are losing valuable time and money, and they lose their money on simple tasks. So I'm very eager to learn how we can incorporate AI and things like AI agents to maybe save us time and even save businesses money, and how even students can implement these kind of things in their daily lives to not only help them study, but also organize themselves and be more productive.
Awesome. That's great. And let's go to Kate. Kate, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, let me know if my connection's okay, because I don't know if it's a little bit spotty. But I'm Kate. I am in college in Connecticut. I'm currently trying to pursue a career in interior design, which is a very creative field. I use ChatGPT almost daily to help with my schoolwork, but I also am interested to see how it's going to help in a creative field. In my perspective, and at least from what I've used with AI, it's very technical. And so I want to see how that can help from a more creative lens, but also still making that realistic, where it can be used in something like interior design, which is a realistic space, and how that can be curated. So I think as a student, it's extremely important, but I also think, leaning off what Leo said, from a career sense, in different fields, how can that be best utilized as well?
Excellent. Imad, let's go back to you.
Awesome. Roman, did you want to take a stab at it, or do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm
I'll
just
go. Okay, I'm just going to go for it. So the way that I see businesses are changing toward this AI is like employees, it's all about productivity. So when we hire right now, it's there's a salary that we pay for the employee, and there is a return that we get from that employee. So we have budget. We say for each person, when we hire them, we have a ROSE budget. We say for every dollar we invest, we want to get back $3. So right now with this AI, as it's getting smarter and as we are learning how to use it in different perspective. Now think of it this way. I used to hire content writer to just write blogs for us. And this sounds absurd thing, but we did that for like forever until like last year. So we had blog writers, content writers, and then we see that we could produce average quality content with OpenAI ChatGPT. And then we realized, okay, the quality is very robotic. And then we change the prompt. We tell it, okay, be more like human, do mistakes, be authentic, use this, use that. Now, after training the model for like multiple months, we finally get to the point that we can write something with ChatGPT that cost us nearly $0, and it is actually passing all of the algorithm for Google, and it actually is a useful content. So if you take that example, when a ChatGPT or an AI can write content with the same quality as a human, you can extend that into other things. Another things that we used to have is like graphic designers. It was a thing. Everyone had a graphic designer run Google ads and lots of other social media ads. And I had to sit down with my graphic designer, no, use this purple here, orange here, have this here. I have to repeat myself once with ChatGPT. I want to image ad for this product or service. I want to use these colors. And then you sit once, and then you come back to that chat 2 months from now. It remembers everything. It has the brand guidelines. It will produce another image ad for you to A/B test perfectly. These are the beginning. The content writer, image creation, these are the beginning steps for using AI in our day-to-day business. And imagine where it's going to go next with accounting and lawyers and all of that automation, anything that goes to do marketing, sales, operation, business, running a business. It all can be trained and just told to a chat GPT or AI to say, this is the guidelines, stay within these limits, do that, and then learn from every other knowledge that you can find online. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
I have just a follow-up question on that. You guys are talking a lot about training the AI. When you say training, what do you mean? What are you feeding? Like specifically, what are you feeding it so that it's trained? It's taking all this time to get it to where you want it to be, but what does that entail? How can we do that to train it?
Okay, can I help with that?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
ChatGPT is the only platform that does it right now. Maybe the other ones will in the future, but every single time you've ever used ChatGPT, it's in its memory. Every time. So I've been using it now for 2 years. So every single thing I've ever worked on with ChatGPT, it's building a knowledge base. It knows everything about my family. It knows everything about my friends. It knows everything about my businesses. It knows all about my health goals, my every goal. It knows everything about my life. So it gives me better information. So number one, I think everyone can start on the free version, but if you're serious about success, you're going to jump up to the paid version. It's only $20, which is, I think, less than Netflix these days. And that's how I can judge if somebody's serious about it. Because if you're not hitting the limits on ChatGPT, when it goes, oh, sorry, if you hit your limit, that means you're not using it enough. It's like until you track your steps, until you're hitting 10,000 steps, you're not getting any health benefits. You've got to hit that limit. So what I would say to you is you have to use it every day. Number one is I use voice. The reason you want voice is you can input 10 times more data into it faster. It also understands the context of your voice. It understands the voice tonality. So what we do know is when you use words in communication, there's only three. I know, Kate, you're doing a big presentation tonight or this afternoon, correct? It's a big presentation. So you're going to be in front of a live audience. In a live audience, you have three tools that you can use. You've got the words that you can use, so that obviously the words are important, but your voice tonality is super important because you can speak slowly, you can speak quickly, you can do a lot of things with your voice to give impact. And the third thing you have is your body language, your physiology. Right now, AI can take your words and your voice. Why is that important? In your presentation tonight, 55% of the communication will come through your body. That's your body language. 38% is going to come from your voice tonality, and only 7% are words. So think about that. So this is why text messaging is the lowest form of communication. It's no more advanced than the telegraph was. That's why most relationships don't work, where everyone's ghosting each other, because they're using the lowest form of human communication. Because how many times can you write a sentence and it can be misinterpreted by someone? The same with AI. So if you're just typing, AI is most likely going to misinterpret what you're saying. When you're speaking to AI, it's going to understand you way more, just like when you have a phone call with somebody. So remember, words are 7%, 38% is voice tonality, so speak to it. But Kate, every time you use AI, it's getting better and smarter. So I think of it like a child that I'm nurturing. Every time I have an opportunity, and maybe I overdo it with kids, but you could relate, maybe, Kate, everything's a coaching moment. Everything's like a life coach, but you're trying to create that young person into the extraordinary human. With ChatGPT, it's even better than kids. And the reason is it's with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes your kids get mad at you. Sometimes they don't want to talk to you. ChatGPT is not like that. It's always there 24/7. Never complains, never asks you to send them money. Like it's amazing. And it just gets better and better over time. So all of us need to work with ChatGPT and give it more context. And then you can tell to memorize something like what Imad was talking about with your logo. Say, hey, I only like the Apple font. And I'll just say to Chat, I like the font that Apple uses on its website. And then ChatGPT go, yeah, that's like this San Francisco font. Okay, great. So moving forward, memorize this check. I only want you to use that font, or this is the logo I want you to use. So you're educating it. And again, every time over your lifetime, it's just going to get better and smarter. So this is why if you look at, for example, some of the richest people in the world, like including Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they've had the same assistant for 20, 25 years. Why? Because they spent 20, 25 years training it. Okay. The problem with the world we have today is the life expectancy of an employee is less than 6 months. Like, how much time and effort are you really going to spend with an employee when you know the life expectancy is 6 months? Okay. We're talking about a system that's actually getting smarter every day, not just a little bit. Like, we used to update our software every couple of years. You get a new operating system. This system is getting quantumly faster on a monthly basis. Like, this has never happened in human history. We used to have Moore's law. Moore's law was every 18 months a chip could double its speed. This is happening in days now. Okay. So this is wild. So I really encourage you to spend more time with your AI. A couple of things. Number one, we spoke about use your voice, don't type. Number two, and this is the biggest mistake everyone's making with AI. We all make this mistake. Never start with a blank slate. So I know, Kate, you were talking about a legal situation yesterday with one of your suppliers or vendors or friends. I would say feed it information. Give it, here's contracts, here's invoice. Feed it as much context as you can. When you feed the AI and then you ask for the information, then you get some unbelievable, you've given it context, then it can help you. But I would say the worst way to use AI is just use it like a Google search and just ask it a question. Again, you're going to get a better answer than Google, but that's not really the best way to do it. So feed it. And again, it knows images. Leo, I don't know about you. I don't know if you guys use like dating apps and things like that, but I've seen this work where somebody on a dating app, they literally have they have no bio, but they upload just the images of that person. And then you ask ChatGPT, analyze this person. What you get back is mind-blowing. Like what a ChatGPT you can deduce just from a simple photograph will blow your mind. You can feed it photos, you can feed it documents, you can feed it videos. So it's already let's call it multimodal. So you can already feed it all this context before you ask it anything. Next, so you're going to give it as much context as possible, but you want ChatGPT to know a lot about you. So I would ask a question, for example, say, hey, ChatGPT, what do you know about me? You're going to be blown away by what it already knows about you. And then ask it a question. And this is something that I've been using recently. I'll say, ChatGPT, what do you want to know about me? And it's going to ask you questions and ask them and answer them really as accurately as possible. Again, you want your assistant, which is ChatGPT, to get smarter and to serve you better. So, Iqbal, I'll pass it back to you, but those are my top 5 steps for mastering ChatGPT.
Yeah, I have a good example for that. I have a thread with ChatGPT called My Health, and it's the result of all my blood tests that I do every other month. I consult with my doctor, and he said, perfect, because your cholesterol level is within range. You're good. Okay, thank you. So I was like, all right, I'm good. But then when I feed that information into ChatGPT, it asks questions like, how old are you and all that. So he already knew all of that. It says, oh, based on what I see from previous month, it has gone up. So it has context, it had memory. So it says, based on previous month, it has gone up. So be careful about that. And also, you are this age, for your age cohort should be even lower. So when my doctor said it's all good and dandy, it turns out to be not so much. And ChatGPT actually helped me better with that. So that was one example
Okay,
that I actually used.
Imad, I love this example because this is super important. What a doctor tells you and what is actually the most important information don't necessarily go the same way. I'll give you an example. Today, Leo, you're a super healthy, you're a super fit guy. And if you went to a doctor and you had your testosterone checked, they'd say, oh, looks normal, Leo, looks good, thumbs up. What they don't tell you is the testosterone level right now of a super fit, healthy guy at 20 is the same as a 68-year-old male. So what the government has done is they've lowered the guidelines on testosterone. So if you ask ChatGPT, hey, in 1970, for example, if I was a healthy male, I was 20 years old and I was fit, I worked out a couple days ago, what should my testosterone be? And it's going to be like this level. versus now. So just so you guys understand, right now, and a man's physical peak in terms of testosterone is actually 18. Right now, an 18-year-old male has the same testosterone as a 68-year-old male. This is insane. It's because of how they're poisoning our food. But your doctor's not going to tell you that. Same with cholesterol. So what they've done, for example, to sell more of these drugs, they'll say, oh, Imad, we're worried about your cholesterol. We're going to get you on some statins. We're going to get you some drugs. And they've actually changed that so they can sell more of those medications. So if you go, hey, what was considered like an acceptable cholesterol number like 10 years ago? So what I do is I feed all of my lab reports, all of the data every time I get a blood test, urine test, anything into ChatGPT. And I have certain health gurus that I really trust. Okay. Nothing wrong with family doctors, and some of them could be good. But imagine if there's like somebody that's the world's best at something. So I want that person. So I'm going to say, hey, ChatGPT, I want you to read all of Dr. David Sinclair's books. I want you to read every paper that Dr. David Sinclair has ever written. I want you to watch every video he's ever done. I want you to study every blog he's ever written. Now, based on my lab reports, tell me what Dr. David Sinclair would tell me. Or what would Andrew Huberman say? Or so I'm literally giving it specific guidelines, and then the advice you get is totally different. So I think health is important. It's super important. You want to feed it all the data and then ask it, what would Brian Johnson, the only guy in human history that's like reversing his aging, the guy spends $2 million a year. He's the most tested man alive. What would Brian Johnson say about this? You're going to get completely different advice, Imad, than your family doctor is going to give you. Again, not discrediting any profession, but guys, you can't compete with AI. You cannot compete with something that's read every medical journal in the world, that has already seen billions and billions of photos. So if you get a rash or a scar and you upload that photo, when you go to your doctor, all they can remember is what they've seen. But imagine an AI system that's literally seen billions and billions of the same image, and it knows how to treat it more effectively. Okay. There's a famous story of it's not a friend, it's an acquaintance I have. And he had a dog, and the dog got really sick. And immediately they went to the vet, and the dog was dying. Goes to the vet and he says, hey, what do we do here? And the vet's like, oh, give him this medication. The problem is the medication didn't work. And a lot of times you go to the doctor, they give you a medication, doesn't work. It's very common. The dog's dying. So this person, they were smart enough to get the lab results from the vet, and they put it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT says there's only 3 possible solutions. So the first one was what the medication that the vet had already given. He said, let me try number 2. So before he had to go to the vet, make another appointment, do all that, he was able to save his dog's life. His dog was literally dying. So I really think this is like life and death. So you want to feed and all of us now, if you go to get, for example, if you're in Canada, we have a thing called Life Labs, like you can get all of your data. Any hospital you go to, they will give you access to your records. So you already have your medical information, but don't just trust your doctor, verify. It's like when Gorbachev and Reagan had done the nuclear arms deal. It was a very big deal. And they asked President Reagan, they said, do you trust Gorbachev? He says, I trust, but I verify. And I think you have to do that with everything these days. Sorry for the long answer, but I think health is so important that we need to really use ChatGPT to its fullest. Next question. Kate, did you have a question for us?
Let's have Leo ask his first if he can, because mine feeds off of that.
Great.
Yeah. So I essentially see how using ChatGPT and these things, it's very helpful. And Emad mentioned something earlier. He was talking about the productivity of his employees, right? Because obviously you need to invest a lot of money into your employees and you expect some sort of return, right? From the money you pay them. Now, a lot of times, if you were to take that employee, you're really banking on all their prior knowledge and what they know. So obviously, there's a lot of every business does something differently. Not all businesses are the same in terms of how they do analysis of things like that. So do you think that incorporating, let's say, ChatGPT and AI agents and things like that, do you think a business can get a better, let's say, analysis of a SWOT analysis, profit and loss analysis of a month, and kind of help people generate more ideas on how can they make their sales go up, how do they market their product better and stuff like that? Do you think jobs can be taken over by things such as ChatGPT, which is way less costly than having a full-time employee?
Maybe Imad, I'll start with this one. And Imad and I had a client meeting recently. So it's a very successful renovation business, probably the most successful in Toronto. And the CEO owner is a friend of mine, and he hired a very bright woman, and she had a lot of experience. So normally in the old world, which is 2 years ago, you'd hire someone based on, oh, I've got a great employee because look, they worked in this industry, they know it. Great, that's perfect. And then they built this website and it wasn't really performing well. So I went to AI and I said, AI, I need you to analyze who are the top 10 renovation construction businesses in every major city. Okay, so go city by city across the US, across Canada, and I need you to find me what are the patterns you're seeing. And now, so literally, it's literally going to thousands of websites and it's finding who are the top revenue people. And it's finding trends like, oh, look at the offer they're doing. Look at the landing pages. Look what they have there. And there's all these best practices. So think about it. So my friend, which is super smart, super successful, he hired a star employee that had a reference point from one past company. But now I'm using AI to study all the top people in the entire industry, pulling the best practices. Then, based on that, I was able to go with that knowledge and I was able to go into ChatGPT and actually create new landing pages, new offers, build an entire new website based on the best performing sites on the planet. So humans can't do this stuff. So if you're relying on a human to give you great consulting advice, it's a challenge. So there's another famous thing. So there's a tech billionaire. He owns a Dropbox. This is one of the brightest men in the world, self-made billionaire. And he's skeptical of AI, but he's a big fan of Michael Porter. Michael Porter is one of the greatest, still is one of the greatest consultants in the world. He's at Harvard Business School. He's published many books. He's considered among the smartest business consultants in the world. And it costs millions of dollars to hire the guy. So what he did, this is the CEO of Dropbox. He uploaded all of his latest financials, all of the information. So again, from a finance perspective, Leo, he literally gave ChatGPT all of the real-time data of Dropbox. And then he asked ChatGPT, he says, ChatGPT, I need you to read every book, study every lecture, listen to every video, every single I want you to consume every piece of content that Michael Porter has ever done. Basically, his entire brain has now been uploaded into ChatGPT. And now it says to ChatGPT, what would Michael Porter tell me to do this quarter? Tell me exactly what he would do. And it's within seconds, it spits it out. So the Wall Street Journal heard about this. They went to Michael Porter and they said, look, this is what this billionaire did. Would you consider this? He goes, first of all, I wouldn't take on that project. I'd charge hundreds of thousands of dollars. It would take me 6 to 8 weeks. I wouldn't do it. But just for the context of your article, I'm willing to review what ChatGPT, I'm willing to review it. So he comes back 2 weeks later and he says, I wouldn't change a word. This is exactly the same information. So think about this. Most companies can't afford to hire Michael Porter, the greatest business consultant of all time. But guess what? Now you can. So it doesn't matter if it's a top coach in whatever field. And it also works with dead people. David Ogilvy is the greatest advertising marketing man of all time. If you read his books, if you study the work that David Ogilvy does, nothing compares. The man's dead. So one of the prompts I have that's already saved in ChatGPT, anytime I create any advertising, marketing material, I say, now I need you to look at it from the lens of David Ogilvy. How would David Ogilvy improve this? And literally, I've got David Ogilvy beside me now, helping me. That's the power of this. But that only works because I've given it context. I've already said to it, I need you to read all of David Ogilvy's books, read all his studies. So if there's somebody that you've seen their TED Talk, or maybe you watch your YouTube, feed that into ChatGPT and then ask the question. Does that make sense? Imad, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just have a clear example. Like if you study history, at some point 3% of US population was working on farms. And when the tractor was invented and went to the farms, people were just like throwing stone at it. And he says this new technology is putting us out of jobs. But now only 2% of people are working on farm and they produce as much produce for the entire country. So you can see that. And then now the 2% of people who were working on farms, they didn't become jobless. The nature of job has changed. Now they're mortgage broker, now they're real estate agents, now they're insurance brokers. So the it's an evolution of jobs, and new jobs are being created. So now we're talking about crypto, Web3, AI. All of these things will create more and more jobs for people who are more technical. It's just not, I don't see it as doom and gloom that, hey, people are losing jobs. So that answer to your question, Leo. And right now you can see McDonald's used to be the place that all teenagers used to go. They were always hiring for basic cashier teller position. Now you go to McDonald's, there is no cashier teller. There's like all a big screen. You order your thing, and then here we go. So imagine this is the evolution. Right now, we are in a phase that we are building software that still has a pretty interface, like that McDonald's thing, that a person has to go in there and choose your Big Mac and Coke and no salad, yes, this, select, pay, go. And then it's being prepared by a person at the back. So now with the new technology that we are seeing is it it surpassed that. There is no need for having the UI, UX, and interface. It's an API talking to another API and talking to a SDK. It's all machines talking to each other, getting things done. So right now, if you are a business owner and you need leads for your business, you have to go to an ad agency, marketing agency, talk to the person, hire them, give them a retainer, and then the person creates the ad and the whole team work on your campaign, create something. And this is still legacy project to me. Modernizing would be, you are in a business, you need leads, an API you will tell it what you need, and this talks to another API, talks to another API, and it will give you the client and lead that you need. So it's just machine talking to machines. And then this is the evolution. It's just going to take time, but we are going to get there. We don't need to have a person or human involved and have a pretty UI UX thing. Everything is happening in the back end. That's my take.
And I'll give Leo an example. So Leo, I know you're in accounting, and I remember I got a computer. It was the first Mac computer, and I learned how to use it. Basically, it was like an Excel spreadsheet. And my parents introduced me to a good friend of theirs, Elaine Pierce, a mortgage broker, and she showed me how difficult it was for them to create like the mortgage table for 25 years, like every month. It was like it took for hours and hours. It was a pain in the ass, and I could do it in minutes because basically it was like an Excel thing. And I was able to still charge, I think it was at the time, it was like $100, because in her world, she would spend hours and hours on this. She didn't really care if I could do it in 5 minutes or not. But that was like my first kind of professional gig, where I was going and selling these things to mortgage brokers. And I think AI is the same way. Things that, like, I ran a digital agency for 28 years now, and things that used to take us weeks, I can do in minutes now, but way better. Let me just give you one example. There was an incredible marketing book that I saw in a new one that came out, and I was at an airport. I was rushing to get on the plane. I didn't want to get in line to buy the books. I'll take a picture of it, order on Amazon. And that's normally what I would do. But as I got on the plane, I started thinking, what if I take that image of that photo and I send it to, now this book just came out. It's a new book. I send the photo to ChatGPT and I say, hey, ChatGPT, it's a marketing book. Please read the book for me. I need you to summarize it. And like within minutes, it did it. But then I say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm working on this 10X mastermind. I just built this website and this landing page. I need you, based on what we learned from that book, I need you to go and redo it. So within minutes, ChatGPT took an entire website, redid the copy, the landing pages, the emails, the sales letters, redid it based on the learnings of this book. Even with the 20 smartest people I'd have in one of my offices, if I gave them the book and gave them the same command, the same task, a week later, we'd still be screwing around. Like it still wouldn't be done. This is the power of using AI today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And just a quick question, if I may. Now, Imad mentioned things like APIs. So we addressed how things get more efficient when using AI, obviously in terms of time. Now, obviously in a business standpoint, that's great, right? You can use different analysis and get quick answers. Now, how exactly, because I know there's a little bit of a difference than using ChatGPT and something like an AI agent. Could you maybe go into depth about how can I incorporate something like an AI agent and how it's a little bit different from ChatGPT so I can maybe work on my planning, right? Because school gets overwhelming. So how can I use those tools to maybe make my experience as a student a little more easier and a little more efficient?
Great question. Imad, do you want to jump on this one?
Yeah, sure. So think of your use case as, let me go back to business because it's easier. Let me, let's say I have a client that has a very specific requirement. I have to go out in the marketplace and buy software that could somehow fit into this category, but again, I have to tweak them, I have to onboard it, I have to do lots of changes. I'm talking about HubSpot, Zoho, Marketo, Google Ads, all of that. So I have to tweak it, make it work for the client. Now, imagine if I'm capable of going to a website builder, like an AI website builder or tools builder, like bolt.new. That's the one that I'm using. I go in there and I tell it exactly what is the problem, what do I need, how I need it. I need it to integrate with this, and it is for this geo targeting, and these are my competitors, and all of that. So it will create a dashboard for me that not only run my ads, monitor my website, monitor my competitor's website, do the gap analysis, say, oh, they have this content, you should have it too. So what I'm trying to get at is customize software for you. It's just so tailor made for you right now. I don't know if you have ever worked with some of these big softwares out there. It just takes a lifetime to learn the process and onboard it, and it's still not working for you. So right now you can go and build your own software that is made custom made for you. It's the difference between going to fast fashion and buying a suit that you're trying to fit in, like, yourself, or go to a custom made tailor to make it suit for you on your own body. So this is the difference. That's where we are trying to get at. We are going to have as many business out there, we're going to have that many software customized for those people, made with tools like bolt.new, and behind that it would be a ChatGPT API talking to that Google API, SCMBrush API. It will integrate all of that.
So I'll give you an example of a tool that people are finding really useful, and they're building it themselves. So think of it as like an assistant. So there was a man named, this goes back in history, but there's a man that he was very poor, and he lived in the Middle East, and somehow he becomes the world's richest man. So they started studying this man. They said, how did this guy become the world's richest man? He didn't have technology. He didn't come from, wasn't a tech co-founder, didn't go to Stanford. But how did Adnan Khashoggi become the richest man in the world? What Adnan Khashoggi did is he did enormous research on any human he ever met before Google, so he would like call the assistant and he would say, hey, does he like to play tennis, like golf? He just start interviewing people that know that person. And then what he would do, he would actually literally change his outfit and dress like that person. Why is that important? Leo, your friends probably dress like you. Kate, your friends probably dress like you. We like to hang out with people that look like us, talk like us, like us. Adnan Khashoggi, this is back in the 70s, became the world's richest man, came from poverty, because he figured out that it's really important to match and mirror the person he's going to meet with. He would do his due diligence. Well, today, you can use tools. You can Google somebody. You can look them on social media. I use a tool I've been using forever called Crystal Knows. It reads every social media post you've ever done, and it analyzes it based on the words you use, and it'll give me an incredibly effective, basically your personality profile, really effectively. There's a bunch of tools you can do, but it takes time. You can also build an AI agent that automatically, anytime it sees a new name in your calendar, it can do the Google search, it can go to do the social media, it can do all of these different things. And then in the morning when you wake up and you've got your list of meetings or appointments, it's already got a summary of who you're going to meet and everything you need to know about them. The other thing you could do is maybe they've emailed you. Maybe they emailed you a year ago and they had a wedding they were going to, or their daughter had a baby. It can also pull the context from old emails in your summary. So could you do that by yourself, yes, it would take an enormous amount of time, but you can also build an AI agent. So if we want to build an AI agent like that, how long do you think it would take us, Imad, to build an AI agent that all it did, it went to your Google Calendar, it took the person's name, and let's say we gave it 5 different software to go do the searches and integrate it and create a summary. How long would that take us to do?
5 minutes.
So in the real world, you couldn't even do that search for one person in 5 minutes. But imagine you're seeing 2 or 3 people a day in the course of the year. We're saving somebody thousands of hours and we're making them a much more productive, successful human being. So those are examples of AI agents. So my belief is actually agentic AI, which is basically AI agents. That's what's going to transform the world. And the CEO of, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this company, Shopify. So Shopify is one of the most successful companies that ever came out of Canada. Toby, one of the most brilliant CEOs of all time, he sent an email, famous email about a week ago to all of his staff. He said, before we ever hire another human in this organization, this is a huge, incredibly profitable, multi-billion-dollar company. You must build an AI agent for that task first. Only if it's impossible to, if you cannot build an AI agent that can replicate that, only then will we consider another human. So this is what we're dealing with, Leo. This is why everyone needs to learn how to use this, because every CEO is going to go, if I can build an AI agent for this, why would I hire a human? Because remember, that AI agent is actually getting better and smarter at the task. It's actually going to get better. Every time it does a transaction, it's learning from it. It's going to get better. Most employees don't. When you meet people that have had 10 years of experience in a company or 20 years, I've worked for this company for 20 years. I've been doing this job for 20 years. We've all known those people. Leo, let me tell you what's happening. They've had 1 year of experience 20 times. They've been doing the same thing day in, day out, and they're not getting better. Okay. So today, an AI agent, once you create the framework for it, it's actually going to get better and better. So again, this is another reason why I think it's not that your job's aligned, but you have to learn these tools. And there's great companies right now, they're giving employees, they're saying, hey, we'll give you $300 a month. You go figure out what AI tools are going to help you get better. That's the right way to do it. That's the smart strategy. Then there's other big companies. I have a friend of mine that works for one of the biggest companies in the country. We went for a walk yesterday. He goes, yeah, in our company, they don't allow us to use any AI. Let me tell you, those companies aren't going to be around much longer. Any company that's empowering their employees to use any AI they want, they give them a budget, those are companies that are going to transcend the company. They're going to blow everyone else apart. The companies are like, no, we don't use AI in our company. They're not going to be here. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Kate, did you want to jump in?
I did actually. You were talking, a lot of the conversations have been about time management and the most effective way to be doing different things. Gearing it back towards being a student to help both Leo and I and anybody else, what are some of the AI tools like ChatGPT? Which ones can be used for certain tasks? So if I'm working on a research project, what AI should I be using to help guide my research? If I'm doing the writing part of that component, what AI is going to help my writing? What's going to help? Leo talks about organization. What specifically should we be using? Is ChatGPT, would you call it a fair one? It can do anything all around. I know you in the past have told me that Claude is really great for writing. I like to use Gemini for my notes. I find that Gemini helps better with my notes. I find it's more concise than ChatGPT, but I like ChatGPT for more writing styles. What one specifically would you suggest for various things, including anything business related?
I'll start and then Imad can jump in. I start everything with ChatGPT. So with me, I have one screen that always has ChatGPT. So that's like my personal assistant beside me. And then what I'll do is if I feel like I can get better results from Claude for writing, for example, or I get better deep research from somebody else, I'll use that. But within ChatGPT, they do have a deep research button. I don't know if that's on the free version or you got to pay for it, but the deep research thing is like mind blowing. Like it's wild. And I know some of the other AIs do it as well. But each one is better at certain things. So Grok 3, for example, is way better at current live things because Grok 3, owned by Elon, is taking live data. So if somebody just tweeted something an hour ago, Grok 3's already got it. So Grok 3 is really good at more live kind of information. But what I do, Kate, is I actually use the multiple. So I'll give you a real life example. I have a tennis partner. She's really great at tennis. She works in HR. And one day, a few months ago, she said, hey, my dream is to have my own company. I'd love to do my own thing. I don't want to work for somebody else my whole life. I said, that's great. I think you could use ChatGPT, could help you. So she got a request for proposals called an RFP from the government. It was 60 pages, a big RFP. And her company didn't want to respond to it because RFPs, especially 60-page ones for the government, are a tremendous amount of work. You could spend 100 hours just working on the RFP and you might not get it. So a lot of companies just say, I don't want to respond to it. And she said, if I got this job, if I got this RFP, literally it's worth millions of dollars to me, like I'd be set. I said, send me the RFP. So Kate, I know nothing about HR. I literally know nothing about that industry. So what I did is I took the RFP and I asked her just to give me whatever basic response she would, which was pretty basic. And I used three different AIs. So the first AI it was ChatGPT. And then I went to Perplexity, which is Claude, and I said, hey, what's wrong with this one? What am I missing? So here's the RP, here's our response. I said, oh, you need more case studies. So I went to Gemini. Hey, Gemini, help me with. So basically, I'm bouncing between the three. And by doing that, we won a $2.1 million RFP. And we won it against some of the biggest companies in the country, like Deloitte and Accenture. So what I can tell you is one person on their own using a couple of these can outperform even the biggest consulting companies in the world. But I would say if it's a big task, a big project, start with essentially I would always use with ChatGPT because it's got the memory. It always remembers what I'm doing, but I might try a couple others. So for example, for writing, I really think Claude 3.7 is really good. So Imad, what are some of your favorite tools?
I am like you, Roman.
See, this is the problem with humans.
So I have a paid
Iman may have
subscription
put out, if
for
we had
Grok,
an AI person.
Gemini,
One of my
Claude,
podcasts recently had an AI co-host with me, Maya. She was amazing. Kate, do you remember we talked to Maya?
Yeah, I'm still not sold on
Yes,
that one. I'll
I
say
remember
it.
that. That's crazy.
That's terrifying to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, there's very specific tools for certain things. So I know for students, there's some very specific ones. But you know what I would do if I was a student? I'd say, look, here's my goal. I would say, ChatGPT, here's my goal. I want to get whatever. Whatever mark I want to get. What do I need to do to achieve that? And ChatGPT is probably going to tell you, like, all right, Kate, if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, like nothing is going to work for you. It's going to give you some advice out of the box. The other thing I like about ChatGPT is I'm like, what are my blind spots? What am I not thinking about? What am I not asking you? What question should I be asking you? A lot of time management is literally, it's just discipline. So for example, I have ChatGPT send me reminders, drink enough water. So you can literally becomes your assistant, but I've given it my life goals. I've given it my health goals. It knows everything I want to do and it's given me the tools to do it. And I'd also ask ChatGPT, what other AI tools are there that can help me? And let me tell you guys something. All of them have a free trial. There's not a single AI tool that doesn't let you use it for free. And if it doesn't, it's a scam. There's a lot of these like fake ChatGPT apps and stuff, but all of them have free trials. And you can do the most mind-blowing things. Yeah, on our last week's show, the other day, we built an entire website, a huge website in minutes. Like we rebuilt a massive website. We did it using a free AI tool. It's wild. So a lot of these things are free. And if you start using it a lot, then obviously there's going to be a paid version, but they're very inexpensive. Look, the top tools, they charge you less than your Spotify. They let you less than Apple Music, less than your Netflix or your Prime Video. So we're already spending money on subscriptions that are not as powerful as these ones. Leo, let's go back to you. Any other questions?
Questions? I more just want to make a comment about, just to add on to everything we've been talking about now. Yesterday when I was preparing myself, for this podcast, and I went onto ChatGPT and I pressed a button by accident and I said something and then I heard something back from my phone and I was like, what is that? And it was ChatGPT, right? The voice thing you're talking about. So I was like, wow, okay. So I started talking to it and I speak Croatian and Italian and my Italian I'm forgetting it a bit. So I was like, hold on. So I asked it, do you speak Croatian? Do you speak Italian? And it was talking to me back and forth. And I was like, this is way better than Duolingo or anything because I can ask it to repeat it, say it slower, this and that. So it actually works like someone's right next to me who's fluent in German, Italian, any language I want. So it's actually very powerful. And I've noticed, like, even just talking to it for a day, I tried that and it was like, wow, like who knows all the things I can potentially do and learn through this.
What a great use case. But I hear that a lot. It's better to learn languages just with ChatGPT. There's a one that I use called Google. I get stuck on a lot of technical things. Like in my setup, I think I have 6 like monitors and I just do crazy stuff and I get stuck. I'm like, all of a sudden it doesn't work. There's something, it's by Google. I think it's called Google Studio. I go to Google Studio and I press a button. I share my screen with Google Studio, and all of a sudden I get to a tech challenge, but I'm sharing my screen with Google Studio. And Google Studio is, oh, Roman, move the cursor here, do this. Okay, do this. So literally, it's like I used to have to call my tech person, Amir, which I love Amir, but for me to call him and him not being busy and to drive over, like it was a nightmare. Versus Google Studio works 24/7, and literally I'm sharing and it has all the information. Like I could be in some software, and I'm like, how does this work? Today we're using Riverside. I could go into Google Studio, so I'm on the screen. What do I do? I'm not sure what to do here. And it just walks you, okay, do this. It's incredible that these AIs know everything about every software. Humans can't do this. So I would say that was a great example of just talking to it. I'm starting to replace, I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm driving. Now I'm starting to just talk to ChatGPT about different topics. And what did Andrew Huberman say about this? And what about this? And what does Brian Johnson think about that? And it's giving me live information. Even podcasts were done like minutes ago, hours ago. Somehow it's now able to pull some of that data. So it's wild. We're going to wrap up. I think we've had an amazing session. Kate, any final questions? And then we'll get some final thoughts from Emad as well.
No, I think I'm all good.
Leo, any final questions? And then we're going to let Emad do the wrap up.
That was it. I want to say I learned quite a bit more, and I'm definitely going to be using ChatGPT and these kind of things more throughout my daily life.
Excellent. Emad, back to you.
Yeah, man, for sure. This was great. I'm happy to, at least if we can have one person from this podcast say, okay, you know what? This is the day I want to start using Grok 3, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. Take your poison, go for it, test it out. I'm sure just treat it as your best friend, as your best self, and it just transfer your knowledge into it, and then you will be surprised what it gives back to you. It has the whole world knowledge in your pocket. So as Leo said, practice some language with it, or just upload all of your business data and just ask it to analyze and say, where can I optimize more? Where can we spend less and give more? All of that thing. And overall, if you guys have any question, you know where Roman is. He can ping us and we will be able to help you out with anything you need. That's it for me.
Yeah, and so Kate, just to wrap up for a student, one of the biggest challenges with students is you got to figure out which courses should I take. And I would get ChatGPT to help you because I think the teacher is really important and reading all the teacher reviews and figuring out, and I would really work with ChatGPT to optimize which courses to take, I don't think students are using that enough. And I think it's really powerful. I have another podcast called The 10X Show, and Nishan's our producer, our video guy, and he was with me last night. And he said, Roman, because of you're talking about this AI stuff, I started using it. And he's literally self-representing himself on a pretty complicated legal matter, and he's winning. And it's unbelievable. So an average person can now act like an attorney and do like things that we couldn't even imagine. And I've had this myself. I've sent legal docs. I use a ChatGPT. I sent to a lawyer, and they're like, "Who did this? You know, which lawyer?" I said, "Don't worry about who did it. Is it good?" I'm like, "They're like, it's perfect. I have to change 3 words." So we're in a new age now. But the people that use this, Kate and Leo, you become superhuman. We've watched superhero movies as children. All of us can become superhuman now. This is our chance. There's no more excuses. This is our chance to all be superhuman. So I hope we all get to use more of this. And I want to hear some success stories. So hope to have you both back here. And I want you guys to share your success stories and things that you've done with it. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. That's it for Strategic AI Coach. Have an amazing day. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.